Pierre. Thanks for having us this morning.
Thank you.
Before we begin, could you please rapidly talk to us about SIDE? And then, more importantly, could you briefly describe to us what is the company's innovation, its main applications, and the markets it serves?
Sure. So SIDE is an online marketplace connecting students who are working as freelancers with fast-growing companies who are looking for external workforce. And so the market we are targeting today is students on one side and startups or fast-growing companies on the other side. So the main innovation is to make it very, very easy for both students and companies to start working together, because we enable companies to hire freelancers and we take care of all the selection and all the paperwork also. So all the payment goes through the platform, all the selection goes through the platform as well. So it's an easy way to start working with someone in a couple of hours when you need to.
Okay. So would you say this is a completely disruptive innovation, or is this just an improvement?
Well, it's an improvement of how you hire a freelancer, because platforms for freelancers have been around for quite a few years now, but it's a big innovation for how people work in general, because I think that independent work is a big trend today, and more people decide to work as freelancers instead of being employees. And so what we do is that we make it very easy for anyone to become a freelancer, to start working for a company as a freelancer. And so this is a big innovation, and if everything goes well, it will have a big impact on the way people work in companies. So this will change. It will be a big change for both companies and people.
Okay. So what were your drivers and motivations from the initial idea to the venture creation?
Well, we were students and we needed some money and we wanted to have some experience, so we started working as freelancers for companies, and it was a great experience, and we wanted to offer the same thing to every student. So that's how this started, and so little by little we created the company and we improved the service, but initially it was just to repeat the experience that we've had and to make it possible for anyone to live the same thing.
Okay. So did your entrepreneurship project develop exactly as you had imagined it from the beginning, or has it evolved with time and circumstances?
Yeah, of course it evolved, and it's very hard at the beginning to project yourself and to project your idea in the future, because you learn a lot from the market, from your users, and it's something that you have to be very good at, I think, is to listen to what people give you as feedback so that you can improve what you're doing. So it's more having a strong vision of the big problem that you want to solve, and then you need to be very open to feedback, and you always get surprises and challenges along the way, so it's not as easy as it seems in the beginning, of course.
Okay. What impact did these unexpected events have on your project? Drastic changes or just improving slowly?
Sorry. Can you repeat just?
Yeah. What impact these unexpected events that happened during the construction of your project have had on your project? Did you understand?
What impact? Well, the impact is that you have to work on your website, so the product. You have to work on your application, mobile app. Like if you have a product, you often have to iterate a lot.
Okay.
And also in terms of how you communicate your message or how you are positioned on the market, often you have to try to figure out exactly what's the best message to give to your customer, or also what's the service they're really looking for. So you have to listen to them. So it's this is the challenge. Yeah, of course.
Okay. So since launching your project and becoming an entrepreneur, your core business plan has evolved. So what was the purpose of the initial one?
We didn't do a business plan in the beginning.
Okay.
It's I don't think it's really a good idea, because it's really hard to project the money you're going to make as a small company in the first year, for example, because usually what you want to do in the beginning is to prove that your model exists and that someone is interested in what you're doing before actually making money and proving that it's sustainable and that you have good margins, etc., etc. So what's very important at the beginning is to have one metric that you track, and it was for us the number of hours that were booked on the platform, so the number of hours that students worked. This was our metric, and we just had one goal. It was to increase this metric week after week. But it's just when we raised funds for the first time, this is when we didn't do a business plan, but we did a cash plan. So it means that we projected how we were going to spend the money. And then you can project based on that what you can expect in revenues. But I wouldn't say that doing a business plan from the beginning is a very good idea, because actually no one knows what the future is going to look like, as we said. So it's not predictable.
How can you convince banks to trust you without a business plan or?
Yeah, right. So that's why startups don't work with banks, right? So the way you finance yourself as a startup is with funds, with venture capital funds or business angels, because you can't. Because if you get debt, then you have to reimburse your debt, right? And if you don't have cash flows, if you don't have revenues, you can't reimburse your debt. So you need to have investors who just give you money and expect to get the money back with a return a few years later. And you convince these people generally not on your business plan, but more on your vision, on the quality of your team, and on your traction, meaning on the early metrics that you have. If you have a growing number of hours booked by students in companies, in our case, for example, it means that it works actually. So there is a growing interest in what you're doing, and this is the thing that these investors are looking for more than a business plan actually.
Okay, so let's talk about the life and the profile of an entrepreneur such as you. Would you say you are a risk addict?
A risk addict? No, I don't think so. I think it's it's more about changing things and creating something new and being able to live this whole human and creative experience that is very exciting. But it's not taking risk for taking risk. It's not that exciting to take risk, I think. Of course, there is some risk, and actually, it's pretty cool to do what you want and to have this feeling of doing what you want in your life. But I wouldn't say that it's a risk addiction.
Okay.
I hope so.
So, because being an entrepreneur is a risk, so how have you managed the risks during the construction of the project?
Yeah, well, you take full risks, so you don't manage it. It's fly or die. It's either you, but well, actually, I don't feel like I'm taking a lot of risks right now because I'm young, and everything I've learned so far is so valuable. So that even if I fail, I can start again very easily. I think, because based on what I know now, I've learned so much that actually I can easily, I don't know, if I fail tomorrow, I can find a job very easily, I think.
Okay, so which trade-offs did you have to make to bring your company to where it is now? What is a sacrifice for you? Was it a sacrifice for you?
Well, yeah, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. I think that you have to be extremely focused and committed to what you're doing, so you really have to want it. And so it's very important to be devoted to your company, because it needs a lot of energy actually to create something new and to prove people that actually what you're doing is right. So you have to think a lot and to do a lot of stuff and to work very hard. So you have to do sacrifices, and you have to choose between sometimes your project your friends, your family, and so it's sometimes very hard to conciliate all these people. But yeah, I guess it's the sacrifices that you have to make in the early years, and if you succeed, then it gets better.
Okay. So, do you have any regrets?
No, I don't have any regrets. I think it's important to realize that actually it's just a part of your life and it's just the early years. But of course, I wouldn't live like this forever, because it's too intense, and you want to spend your life doing other stuff at some point. But it's fascinating to do this for 2 or 3 years at this intensity, and then you can, I think, slow down a bit, because you have managed to build something that's big enough that actually you can have a team that's helping you every day, and you can, I think, slow down a bit and try to enjoy your life in a different way. But it's also very, very exciting to live this with this intensity, because everything goes very, very fast, and you meet so many interesting people, and you learn so much that actually it's a real pleasure. Like it's really enjoyable.
Okay. So, what were the main sources of satisfaction and joy?
Well, the many things. I think that sometimes it's turning back and look at what you were in the very beginning and see that now you have more and more people believing in this thing that you and your 3 or 4 friends, or 2 or 3 friends, believed in the beginning. So you were in a small group of friends, and now you see that you have employees, investors. You're in 2 different countries in our case. So it's pretty cool when you look at this from this perspective, and also to look at what your users say. So when they are satisfied, and when you receive messages of people say, "Oh, thank you for doing what you're doing," this is something very, very nice. And to create a beautiful team and to have people happy working in your team is also something that's very valuable. I think for me at least, it's a great source of satisfaction to have 20 people today who are just waking up every day and are very, very determined to make this company a success. So this is what makes me happy.
Okay. So to conclude, what advice would you give for a Schema student who wish to undertake an entrepreneurship project?
I'd say 2 things. I'd say don't be afraid to go for it, because you are at the right age and you have plenty of friends who are in the same situation. So it's a pretty easy way to find your co-founders and to find a nice idea. And it's not because you're young that actually you can't raise money or you can't be respected in the ecosystem. But I would also say that you have to be aware that it represents a lot of work, and it's harder than working in a big company that you can usually work for at the end of a business school. So it means working more and being really, 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 really devoted to your project. So this is a bit different than working at in a bank or at L'Oréal, for example, which is something that people usually do after business school. So this is you have to be really, like, being an entrepreneur is often described as something cool, but actually it's cool 10% of the time, but 90% of the time it's very hard, and people have to know that before they begin, I think, yeah. Or it won't last very long actually, because you don't have they wouldn't resist the pressure and the difficulties they would face.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
To my window to the sky.